is here too,
Hi.
and we are the co-hosts of this. And it's just like a monthly get together. We just started it, so it's we're trying to build momentum with it. But we just figure it's good to kind of connect, network, learn, and grow from one another, help each other, and that sort of thing. So just to share a little bit about us. So let's see here. So my name is Mandah Swift. Like I said, I'm a children's book illustrator, and I've illustrated that 3 published books, but I have like a whole ton more in progress. And I've been doing this about 5 years full time. Between I started hand painted art and graphic design, and then I moved into children's book illustrations. And then there's Melissa. So she is an illustrator and also does a lot of graphic novel art, comic books, that sort of stuff. And so we help moderate one large group that some of you might have came from, the Children's Book Illustrator group with like the red with the spare. And then I have another group because I'm Christian and I have like a specific focus on Christian illustrators and authors. And then I have another group with Melissa for authors and illustrators, because the big group focuses mostly on illustrators. And like I'm an author, I'm going to be an author, and I know authors are illustrators or they just want to get connected more. So I'll put links. I'll send links out to everybody of those 3 groups if you want to join. So that's a little bit about us. Now, we were talking with Laura quite a bit, so Jackie, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say that it's nice to meet you guys, and it's really nice that you're hosting this for like authors and illustrators to connect and to talk about like just different things, like where they are and like with the writing journeys. And um, I'm working on like my like for sorry, but I'm self-publishing, and it's my first book, and and I'm still like learning certain things about it. And but I went to an illustrator, and I still have to go to a book designer and formatter, and I'm still like learning about the process with like using Amazon and just seeing like the best places for having like to have my book distributed.
I
Yeah,
feel like
it
I'm still
is
learning
like,
too.
right? It's been about 3 years working on books, and I feel like specifically just focusing on that, I still feel like there's just so much to learn. So don't feel like you have to be like at the top level ready to go out of the gate. It's a huge learning curve, this industry, and it's evolving right now. So like as soon as you
Yeah.
learn something, then something changes. Like I think I just learned that KDP is offering hardback for smaller quantity pages. Does anybody else know?
I saw
I
that.
saw that. Like it's so like not just 75 pages, but now lower amount pages. I don't know. I haven't looked into it
Oh.
yet. It's like a new thing. So
Yeah.
so yeah, welcome, Jackie. And the are you in one of the? Did you get through this through one of the Facebook groups?
Yeah, I think that it was called Swing Higher, the
That might
art
have
of
been what I
making.
thought too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
posted over there. That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one they give a lot of great feedback and advice. There's quite a few out there just mostly about self-promoting. I'm in those just to try. I try to like give feedback and stuff when people have questions, but I feel like the focus tends to be more self-promoting. That's a really good one. And there's a few other ones as well. There's one that Jay Malinsky does. And then there's the ones that Melissa and I work on together and stuff. So there's definitely some really good ones out there that are more about like community and helping each other than, just spamming stuff. So that's a really good one. And so you wrote the book, Jackie. You said you're looking for an illustrator, or you're going to illustrate it yourself?
Oh, I went to an illustrator and I have the illustrations. I'm still kind of like just like double checking before I go to a book designer just to make sure like with the text, like if everything is just trying to make sure if it's all like how I want it. And um I think I have like I do I did see online like a book designer that I was gonna work with, and I'm just like still learning like just all the steps afterwards as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
pre-press.
a great, go ahead.
Oh, just pre-press is its own whole thing. Getting everything formatted there at the end is like, oh, in some ways, I think it's the most grueling part.
Yeah, that's why I don't do that. I don't do that part. I'm like, I have the skills. I just don't want
Yeah.
to.
I can't blame you. I don't like doing it either.
Especially, I would think graphic novels and comic books. I feel like that would
Oh
be
yeah.
way more complicated.
Yeah, times 128 pages. Yeah, it's oh.
Yeah, way more crazy. Arlene Soto, she's a graphic designer I mean, she does like book formatting and stuff. So if you're looking for someone, you should check her out and just see like what her rates are and everything. Because yeah, that's an important part because they'll help you make sure your cover snazzy and make sure all of the different copyright and title page and all that nonsense that you'll have to do. And then also making sure it's formatted properly so that when it's uploaded, it gets approved. And then also, everything looks right when you get your author copy proofs. So they do a lot of work. So, well, what we can do here, since we have a smaller group, is, if anybody has any questions that they are struggling with right now, or just want to know more about a certain topic, and then we'll see if we have people with those abilities to help, if you want to. So does anyone have any questions about the industry, specific questions or things you're struggling with right now that maybe we could lend some helpful hints for or something?
I have a question for you guys as illustrators. I ended up using, I'm actually really happy with my Illustrator, but I have a couple of different series in mind that will have different looks and feels. So I don't know necessarily that I want to, always stay using the same person, but I ended up using somebody in Indonesia who's lovely. But I also, once I found her and was pleased with her skills and everything else, it was also a little bit of a cost differential for sure working with someone over there. I was just trying to get a sense without you guys having to, share too much that you're not comfortable with, like what from a US illustrator perspective, when you think about doing like, children's books, if you were going to say, spot, vignette, half page, full page, whatever, like what do you think the going rates are and like the accessibility tiers? Because I mean, as an indie author, when you're self-funding all of this, you can only ask so many Kickstarters out of your community. You can only do so much out of your own pocket. And so it does become, very much a budget consideration. And I'll be honest, that's why I looked down that path to start with. So, I mean, I just reality wise, I'd love to get a sense of like where you guys are.
Yeah, so I always like to share like a ballpark range. Obviously, each individual book, you could have 12 images, you could have 28, 30, 35 images. It could be different levels of detail, like some are background, some don't, some are spots. So, every book is going to be slightly different. But this is a great guideline. This is from readsy.com and scbwi.org, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, if that's new to you. So this is what they did in 2020, which is obviously pre-inflation, because everything's gone up since then, but at least gives you an idea, right? This is their study of average cost to self-publish a trade quality children's picture book. So this is not, somebody that just kind of, maybe doesn't do a great job and gets it done. This is trade quality. And so for picture book illustrations, the average is 3,000 to 12,000. I know for myself, it usually ranges around 5-ish thousand, maybe a little bit less, maybe more. I've had up to 8,000 in one book because it was really long and very detailed, full spreads, full backgrounds, just a lot going on. So, so that's kind of gives you an idea, like that's for like US pricing, and that's pretty standard. And then I would say if you're doing something like more like, less pages, maybe 11 pages, like board book or something, or, something like that, then I think it would be closer to like 3,000 if you're doing very few pages. So But yeah, until you would need to get like custom quotes, of course, but that should help maybe give you a range.
Yeah,
And
that's
then if you're looking at for formatting and stuff, I think these two are kind of together, because cover design and then the book interior. So then it's like 8 to I can do math here, 1200. So 8 to 1200 for book formatting, and then you got your editing 345 on average. And this is from 4 years ago, so who knows what everybody's charging now, right?
Yeah. No, that's super helpful. Thank you. I've not poked around Reedsy that much, but I see them out there, but I haven't, gone in and dug around. Do they have a lot of good stuff?
Yeah, I was actually trying to get on there, and they're very selective. So they said I had to have 5 published books that have high, like really well reviewed, like lots of reviews. I have 5 of them. So I only have 3 so far, and one of them is on Etsy. So I don't know if they would count that. They didn't have that as an option. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna have so many published very soon. I should be able to reapply and get on. But yeah, they really want to see like high quality work and stuff. So I mean, I think it'd definitely be something to check out. Obviously, the Facebook groups, you just have to like obviously be really careful, because as much as even we try to filter out like the scammy type people, people doing AI and clip art and all that kind of stuff and fraud, obviously we can't get 100%. Plus, the really big group is public, which means when you post a post, anyone can see it without joining, and they might try to message you and stuff, which is why we say no messages, to try to weed out scammy people. And the other 2 groups that I do are private, to avoid that. But you can do it on Facebook groups. There's lots of great illustrators in there. You can also of course go on to place like the social media apps like Kara, that new one, Instagram. You can actually find them on LinkedIn, on scbwi.org. If you're a member, they have like a listing, like a gallery of all different types of illustrators on there. I don't think they like vet them, but usually, I'm sure they, you're not going to be posting like AI and clip art on there. I
There's a
haven't seen anything
cost
like
to
that on
join.
there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to pay a membership
like
fee to join, and
$85 a year.
yeah, that's going to keep a lot of scammers out. They're not interested in paying up front.
Yeah, so there's lots of great avenues to try to find an illustrator.
Yeah.
And of course, you always have to do your due diligence, the vets and everything, to make sure that they're legit. So there's lots of things you can do to try to do that. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, that
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah. No, that was helpful
So,
for sharing that.
oh, great.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
about you, Jackie? Do you have any questions? Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
I would say that's pretty consistent with my experience too. I think the last children's book I did, it was only 8 illustrated pages, so it was pretty small. And I think, yeah, the cost was consistent with the low end of that scale. So
Okay. Yeah, no, that's just good benchmarks.
but it's interesting because in comics and graphic novels, it goes by page rate. So you're actually charging like per page, with an understanding that it's going to be a full page of art, which, it has its own kind of benefits too, in terms of like pricing out a quote for people. But
I would imagine
Probably more
they're
simple.
all very
yeah,
detailed, like page to page. Is that true? Like the same level of
it can be. Yeah, I have worked different projects for different targeted age ranges. The one I'm working on now, the art is a lot more simple because it's for younger kids. And so it's $65 a page. But I have worked for another project that was way more complicated, that was closer to 200 a page. So
yeah.
it kind of depends on how fast I can bang it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, graphic novelists, you guys are the people who do the art for that, like so they don't get paid enough, really. I mean, all the work you guys have to do and come up with compositionally and then make it flow, like because there's so many pages, you guys kind of get shafted on your work, unfortunately.
There's no way that someone could afford to pay you the $50,000 that it would be worth to actually, it's just hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me too, I like priced it out. this is how much it makes, this is cost, not even overhead costs. I'm not even talking overhead. I'm just talking like related costs directly to that specific book. Not anything overhead, like, website or anything like that. So that was already like only $15 an hour. And then I'd have to take all my overhead out too. So
yeah,
it's really not, you're not getting into children's book illustration because you want to be a high roller. I mean,
no,
you love it.
yeah.
So same thing with graphic novel. It's, it's because you
Yeah.
love it.
If anything worse, like the rates of burnouts and people experiencing chronic injuries from overuse, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of folks tap out early because they just can't keep up. So
Yeah, I can imagine. Imagine.
Yeah,
It's still growing.
that's why I'm trying to work on other revenue streams, that, trying to build those up. I'm actually going to, not this school year, but next school year, I'm just way too busy with my workload. But next school year, I hope to start visiting as an illustrator, if not an author as well. Because then those visits would also be at rate. And then I did kids art classes this summer. And for the first year, I already made profit on that. And then, not a lot, because, I'm just kind of filling the whole thing out, but I made a little bit. And then I'm hoping to do virtual as well, because then I don't have to pay the $50 an hour for the studio fee to rent out a local art council studio. So that will help quite a bit. And then I can reach more kids as well at once. Because when you're in person, I feel like if you had a big class, like, it'd be very overwhelming. So I only keep to like 7 kids, but online I could do quite a bit more, because it's a little bit more just like a show, and then getting a little feedback at the end for them and things like that. So I could take on quite a few more students per class, so my time. So I'm trying to find some other ways too, because there's always going to be downtime with when you're doing freelancing. You can't like fill up every hour that you would normally be working. That's right now I am, but that's not always the case. So like,
oh yeah,
something
no,
I
I
can
know.
do.
I'm there right now in the calm after the storm. I just finished like 6 contracts and now everything is
Feast or
quiet.
famine.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna enjoy the quiet and let myself do some personal stuff and like take a breather, and because it'll get busy again.
Oh yeah.
Feast or famine. So when the famine's happening with the main income, then you can have some other options. So
You
I'm
should
just
check
trying
into
different
grant
things like
programs. The last time I taught in a classroom, it was because the teacher had found a grant program to pay for a local artist to come and show the kids how to do portraiture. So, there there
cool.
may well be like a state grant program that you could apply for.
Yeah, I know I did like a city one for just general art and things, but I never thought about it for teaching. So I'll definitely check into that. Be able
Where
to
are
get.
you guys
I know they
located?
have grants too for like school visits.
I'm sorry?
Are you both US located, or I'm hearing a little bit of where are you, Amanda?
Ohio.
Oh, Ohio. Oh, okay. For some reason I was thinking you sounded a little bit more northern. So yeah.
I don't know.
Washington.
Might be like certain. Actually, I know people from Michigan, and they say that we say certain things weird, because they say them differently. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think, Melissa, you're in California, right? Or
Washington.
Oh, that's
Washington.
so
I knew it
funny.
was West Coast. I was trying to think.
Mhm.
So we're
You
like
said-
on the opposite ends of the time zone,
Yeah.
at
I was
least in the
going to
U.S.,
peg
not
you
like
at
the whole world.
Oregon, so I was close. I was like, you sound like a good friend who lives in Portland, so I figured you must be.
Yeah, very close. Yep. Greater Seattle area.
Yeah. And where are you, Jackie?
Florida.
Ah, how hot is it there right now?
It's really hot outside,
As
and
a day, you guys.
sometimes it rains a lot.
Yeah,
Oof.
I know.
The only time I ever went to Florida was in August. So like hot and
Wow,
rainy
so the
sounds
best
about
time
like
of
I
year.
remember.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I went to DC
wedding
and New
was
York on a trip, and it was in July, and it was like the hottest time that they were like on record. And I was like, we're all out running around on these hot buses, like those tour buses that take you around to all the sites. And I was pregnant. I'm just like, I
Oh,
was just so done. I was like, this is way too hot. And then we went to DC first, and then we took the train up to New York for a few days. And it was so hot there because, you know, everything just bounces around on the concrete and on the
Yeah.
windows and everything. And it's just, there's nothing to cool it down, like trees or anything like that, hardly besides Central Park. So, yeah, it was so hot.
oh,
So now we're having so much heat across the U.S. It's definitely reminding me of that time for sure.
yeah.
It's actually pretty cool here in Ohio. Like, I think it's like in the 70s as a high for today and tomorrow. So we are like, a
Nice.
Loving
little
it.
reprieve before it goes right back up because it was like 90 something yesterday. So,
Good for you.
Yeah.
and how about you, Laura?
I'm actually in Kentucky. So I'm in Lexington, but
Nice.
middle of the country. So we've had probably similar to the weather that you just had in Ohio. We're in the 90s, and then we had a big front come through last night, and it's pouring rain all day today. So
Mhm.
it's back down to the 80s, which is much more accessible. So
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, we get so humid. So like on July 4th, we had threatening rain, but the rain hadn't hit yet. So it was just like this really, I mean, it was still pleasant enough because I think it wasn't too hot. So I'm just really thankful for that. But it was just so like, it just like suffocates you a little, the humidity.
Yeah.
So that's no fun. I'm sure in Florida you feel the same way, Jackie. Like so much humidity down there, I'm sure, like way worse than us.
Yeah, it's like really, really humid. And I'm kind of hoping that like as it gets closer to like maybe like after like towards the end of August that it'll get much better.
One can
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
This time of year where you pray for winter.
Yeah.
Like at least fall, something. Because sometimes fall's really hot though lately. So you're like, I don't know. I'm loving the snow option. I mean, you guys don't get snow in Florida that often, but you're just hoping for the cooler weather.
Yeah, one more month at least for us, and then it'll start to taper off a little bit. Although September is worse than it used to be, so
yeah.
Yes.
I'll make it through.
All right, Jackie, do you have any questions since you're kind of in the midst of your process? Do you have anything you're running into that you're not getting a clear answer online? Because I know it's hard sometimes when you're looking online with this stuff. It's like there's 20 different answers, you know, and you're like, which is the right one? So do you have anything you're running into you might need some help with? You have a question about?
Um, I was kind of unsure if uh like if I should buy my own ISBN for like three versions of the book, like the hardcover, paperback, and ebook, because I hear a lot of people saying that you should do that, and if you were to get an ISBN on Amazon, you can't have your book like in other places. But
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like sure if most like I guess book sales if they would be on Amazon, and I wasn't sure yet if like if my book would be accepted like in bookstores like local bookstores, and which ones. And also I think I heard that if your book doesn't sell, like if there's like returns, then you would lose the money that like you invested. And I wasn't sure which is the safest. Like I think people say it's good to start off like maybe on Amazon and see how your book does. So it's just I guess it's just a little bit it's a little bit complicated, but I just like wanted to see like more information about it.
Yeah, so from what I've done a lot of research on this and many of the things. So Bowker is the only place. I pulled up my screen here. Hopefully you can see it. So BOWKER. And you can go to Bowker.com and it'll get you over to this myidentifiers.com. But that's the only legit place in the USA to buy an ISBN number. If you buy from anywhere else, there could be some issues, fraud, all kinds of stuff. So only get it from Bowker. They have two options. Let's see, this is where to go. So one option is one ISBN, which is $125. And if you plan on doing like multiple versions, like hardback and paperback, as well as additional books, it starts to make sense to get 10. But again, it just depends on your, ability and stuff on finances, because that can be hard. So the deal is with Amazon, just ebooks in general. Ebooks in general do not need an ISBN number. So you don't have to worry about buying one or anything to do with that on the ebooks. On the paperbacks, if you print them through KDP print on demand, there's no wholesale option. So that's one problem. And two, the ISBN number that they give you for free, no one else can use it anywhere else. So like bookstores or wholesale distributors or anything, they can't use that ISBN number for selling or whatever. So it's only your sales on Amazon, and that's it. So what a lot of people do is they go to Ingram Spark. So Ingram Spark is another print on demand place, and you can use them in tandem. It's not like if you do Amazon KDP, you can't do Ingram Spark. You can do both. There is kind of an order to it, and it seems like that kind of like changes a little bit. Plus, Ingram Spark's changed some things, so there is an order on how you release what or how you upload what. To just you want to research that. But so Ingram Spark is a print on demand, and they do hardcover for less than 75 pages, which apparently now Amazon does too. You'd have to see. That's brand new. That's just like in the last couple of days I've heard it. So they do hardcover and paperback, and they also offer wholesale. That's the key part. So if you want to get into like bookstores and things like Target and Barnes & Noble, you have to offer wholesale, and you have to offer the certain return terms, the length of return time. Like I think they want like 60, 90 days or something like that. Whereas, Amazon only does 30. So they want longer return period, and they want to be able to buy it at wholesale, otherwise they won't make any profit. So the other key factor with that is that places like schools and libraries and places like that, they don't buy from Amazon. It's pretty rare that they would buy from Amazon. They want to buy from their distributors, which are usually underneath Ingram Spark. Like Ingram Spark kind of is like, it's like an umbrella for lots of other distributors in the industry. So they kind of like, they're just, they're a conglomerate. It's like Amazon, Amazon's one company, but they have lots of sellers. So I feel like Ingram Spark, maybe I'm incorrect in that, but that's what I kind of glean from like their setup. So so what you can do is you can buy ISBN number for both your paperback and hardback, and use them for both Amazon and Ingram Spark, and so that way you can sell wholesale, but then you can also do print on demand with Amazon.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Is it for Ingram Spark? So like most places, like it would like I guess for bookstores or schools, they would get from Ingram Spark, and it'd be distributed to them from the website.
Yeah, so they would have, so Ingram Spark has lots of different sub companies sort of that they would work with. So they might have like their preferred distributor that we always get books from, and then Ingram Spark is actually the parent company of that, or they're like they're partnered with them or whatever. So maybe they have under how it works. Let's see, distribution. So let's see. So they have you are plugged into one of the publishing industry's largest global book distribution networks, including access to over 40,000 independent bookstores, online stores, chain stores, ebook retailers, libraries, and universities. So they have different distribution partners that work with these end consumer or like resellers. Like if you're a retailer or something, consumer would be something like a school or a library, and so they have like this whole network that you can tap into then through them. So they may not know to buy from Ingram Spark. Like if you talk to a school and say, oh, you work with Ingram Spark, they may say no, but the company that they go and work with, or the bookstore or the distribution, is funneled with Ingram Spark. Like it's Ingram Spark will funnel the books through that distributor. So it's kind of like because I don't think you go on here and you buy direct from Ingram Spark. I don't think that's the thing. Does anybody know?
That's not my impression of it, no.
It's not like you go to EnglishSpark.com, you buy a book. Like it's through like their distribution system, like all of their people that they're connected with, that you would buy it.
Mhm.
Is the book quality like, did you guys all like try, like, do you have like certain experiences with the book quality? Because when I would look online, like I saw mixed things and I wasn't sure. I also saw people suggesting I guess eventually offset printing, but I wasn't sure if it was okay to just start with print on demand first.
I
So,
think that's the question, right? But it's
yeah,
a
go
lot
ahead,
more
Melissa.
expensive, I was gonna say, on the offset. So that
Yeah, so that's what I was afraid
investment
of.
levels are lower if you go print on demand.
Yeah, so offset printing, if you find a good printer, obviously you can still find a bad printer and get a bad result, right? So if you find a good quality, legit printer, and you work with them and make sure you get like your author proof and all that kind of stuff, and you know, you format your files properly and everything, you work with them. So you're gonna get a really good quality book, but you're gonna have to pay up front for like 1,000+ books usually. I mean, 500, what I heard is like minimum, but usually you're paying quite a bit more. 1,000 is usually like the ideal minimum, but obviously more than that's better. So you're gonna have to buy, you know, you think each book costs, I don't know, $5, $4, $3, times that by 1,000, you know, you're spending a lot of money. So some people do Kickstarters in order to pay for the print run. So, you know, if they say $3,000, I'm going to buy 1,000 books at $3, and that's landed cost, and that's a pretty good thing price. So if you meet that goal, then you can buy that print run. You know, of course, you have to absorb the other costs. So unless you get, you know, over your requested amount for Kickstarter. So some people go that route in order to pay for it. You can get grants. There's all different types of grants nationally or in your city or in your state. You know, there's all different types of organization stuff. They can do grants. Of course, you can do fundraising. You can try to get pre-orders with family and friends. There's a way to like support you ahead of time. And there's lots of options to raise the funds, of course, save for the funds, and get the funds to do it. But a lot of people will start out with print on demand because there is a lot less risk and upfront costs. Because what if you go to print it and then you find later, like, oh, you know, I just learned how to better do my cover, or I see some mistakes that I didn't catch. So when you do print on demand, you just upload a new file if it's not too different, right? So there's a little bit of like room for error too, because it's like your first, you know, book or 2 or 3 that you do it with, until you feel more comfortable and that sort of stuff, and there's less risk that you're taking financially. So it's really all to do about it's more of like a preference thing and a budgetary thing than because you're going to get a better quality when you do offset printing if you find a good printer. It's print on demand. They're doing like one book at a time. They're not going to look at it as closely as they should. I mean, some people have had it where whole other books inside of the middle of their book, or they didn't cut it right. You know, all kinds of mess. I mean, it's going to happen. They take care of it, but you know, that's not a very good feeling to have as a customer to receive a bad product. So
Yeah.
but a lot of times, like this one here, I would say the colors are a little bit dulled, but that could have been the designer's fault. He was new at it. He just does graphic design normally, doesn't do print. But you know, it turned out pretty good, and there's no like white edges. You know, we made sure to do bleed and stuff properly, and you know, and it's a quality paperback book as far as you get with print on demand or just in general. So
yeah,
it just kind of
I
depends.
haven't had a whole lot. I haven't done any children's books through Ingram Spark, but I've done book covers for them, and oh my gosh, their file formatting requirements and their pre-press requirements are intense. So I can only imagine formatting, you know, multiple pages for a children's book. I had terrible headaches just trying to get them to approve the cover art for the 2 books that I worked on. But I will say that all of that was worth it, because the cover, I mean, the quality, the print quality is very good. I went and grabbed a couple the ones that I've done, and these are adult, you know, but still the cover looks great. It came out exactly like as advertised. The paper quality feels really nice. The binding is good. Like at least at the end of all of that, you get a pretty quality book. So
And was that Ingram? Was that what you were saying? Or was that
yeah, that was I had worked with a couple of different romantasy authors for doing book cover illustration. So
yeah.
They're gorgeous, by the way, your covers.
thank you. Yeah, gosh, they such a headache, so many kickbacks, and the poor author was new, and so every time she got an error message, she would panic, and I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. It's like these are all
It's all
solvable.
part of the painful process. It's like
Yes.
doing your taxes. They're making it as complicated as possible. It could have been simple, but
I told her it's like book midwifery, of like, we're gonna get there. It's like, and I'm not going anywhere until we get it through. But yeah, man.
That's funny that you compare it to midwifery. If you ever do the formatting, Melissa, that's what you should call it. If I'm your book midwife, and
That's
I'll help you
true,
birth
yeah.
your book.
Yeah. That would be a great tagline.
Your
for it.
baby. A lot of people call their books their babies, so I mean it just all lines up.
Spend a lot of time on them.
Yeah, so it all the language all lines up. So that's funny.
Well, I wanted just
All
to
right,
say,
Jackie, did that help
pulling
answer your
this together.
question?
I have to jump, so I'm gonna just say,
Okay. Yeah,
It
we're
was
almost
nice
all
meeting
like
you.
3, so
yeah, bye-bye.
thanks for coming, Laura.
Absolutely.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
I
So
was gonna
Jackie,
say
did that
that,
help answer your questions with the ISBN and the printing and all that?
yeah, I was gonna say that you guys both have very beautiful books, and it came out really well.
Oh, thank you.
Is it,
Sure you will too.
oh, thank you. Did you guys, like you would, after it was on Ingram Spark, then you'd have the book, like, did you have to go to bookstores individually, and like you said that your book was listed on Ingram Spark, and then they, or did you just prefer to kind of just do it more online, like with selling your books?
Well, I haven't had to do that part because as an illustrator, once I hand it over, then like that's not my purview. So I'll help like social media marketing stuff, but I don't go and like try to get it into bookstores. When I do my own book here in 2025, my board book is what I'm hoping it will be. Then I will have to learn that process and do it all. But from what I can understand, from what I've seen and heard, is that there's quite a few things you will have to be active. Like if you put on Ingram Spark, you can't just. There's hundreds of thousands of the books on Ingram Spark. So like, just with anything, you're gonna have to put the effort in where you're reaching out to bookstores and other places and libraries and learning how to reach to them and connect with them and get your book in front of them and get your book approved that they want to like give it a try. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to do the legwork, and I know that there's different things for like Target and Walmart, Barnes and Noble that you have to do. I think there's like extra steps where you have to go and like almost set that up from what people have said. So Melissa, maybe do you know any more about that or?
A little bit. Man, I kind of have a weird patchwork of experience with this because my first graphic novel was published by an actual publisher, but they were in the UK. I don't know why I thought that would be better, but that's who I went with. And so I had very little support here in the States. And I did have to approach bookstores individually to get them to stock my book. And most of them were extremely receptive. With very few cases was I ever turned away. Almost all the time, they were really great about it. Barnes and Noble, especially, is really welcoming to a local author. But getting them like stocked chain wide, that is not a nut that I have cracked. I know if you go to like, hopefully you'll have a writers convention or conference in your area. I have seen at my local writers convention, they will have classes that specifically instruct authors on how to get their books into libraries or into Target or into, whatever retailer you're hoping to find. They will have specific classes instructing you on that. So I would say that's the best resource. And yeah, don't be afraid to go to your local indie stores. They love supporting local authors. They will absolutely, be happy for you, be excited for you. They've given me tables before and encouraged me to sit there and sign books. I've gone to, as an illustrator, I've gone to authors' book signings at Barnes and Noble. So, and I've tabled at a lot of local conventions and sold my books there, and which is its own skill set because all of a sudden you have to like talk to people, which isn't necessarily my strongest suit. But
Same here.
it's really awkward. It's really uncomfortable. It's like I got drawn.
It's a learned skill for some of us. It's not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really fun afterwards. I mean, there's nothing like hearing people compliment your work or fall in love with your work for a few days and getting that wonderful feedback from your audience that really like reminds you of why you do all of this and how it's hard, but it's worth it. And so I think, yeah, it's hard to get into bookstores, but you'll be glad you did.
Yeah, it's gonna take, because you have to put yourself out there, and that's one of the scariest parts. Like,
Yeah.
Because just in general, like even as a freelance illustrator, for example, like I have to put myself out there, and you might get crickets, you might get like no's, you might get like even people being rude. Not very often, thankfully. It's actually pretty rare, but you have to be prepared that could happen. But then you also get people that are like, "Oh my God, you're amazing! I love your work, and I'm so excited to work with you." And that just gives you like so much energy to like overcome all of that, not positive, reaction. Even if it's a no reaction, that still feels not that positive. So, if you can, focus on that when you're going out and talking with, bookstores or whoever. There's also, at least in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, we have a lot of book fairs. And so you can also look in, it's not like a book fair, like a scholastic book fair at your school. It's like authors, illustrators, industry people will come and like have a little mini convention sort of.
Awesome.
And they do sell their books, but they also have like different speaking and maybe some, I know one of them, they had like Chon's book, because they had all different levels of books, but they had Chon's book authors, illustrators like reading their books or doing their things. So there's all different types of stuff. And so there's lots of different avenues. You can do local markets, like craft art type shows, but they also have like vendor markets and things like that. There's lots of avenues. It's a matter of like what works for you, your budget, your time. Obviously doing a local market, you've got to have like a setup, more so than maybe like at a book fair where you just have like a table and just like a few things. You might have to do it like a tent and all kinds of stuff too, depending. So it's outdoors. It's just a matter of really just diving in there and figuring out what's in your area. Are you a member of the scbwi.org? I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if you were on the SCBWI. So, because if you are, they meet up regularly. They meet up regularly in local chapters, like once a month usually. And then mine even has another meeting for authors, another meeting for illustrators once a month. So with the author one, they do book critique, and you can also ask questions in general. And then the illustrator one, then we like critique art, and we also can ask questions. But then there's a monthly one as well. And then they also have, like they just had one about school visits that was open to everybody. It's free. They also have other different types of like webinar, conference panels, classes, all different types of things. Some are free, some are not. They're usually really reasonable though if they're not. It also has a huge essential guide to publishing for children. So it's a huge like PDF document of all different types of publishing resources and things. There's self-publishing resources, newsletters, podcasts, like there's just gobs of help there. So that's something you could check into. It's about $85 a year, at least in my area. It's well worth it. Like all of the things that you can potentially do and get connected with and learn. So that could be a good jumping off point too, as well, to like connect in your area. And then they might be able to tell you some of the great places to go, rather than you going to a market or a book fair and it's kind of a flop, because there's not a lot of attendees. Like other illustrators or authors will be able to tell you like, maybe avoid that one. And you don't have to find out the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah, flops just happen. I had a bad experience at a really busy convention that was supposed to be really excellent, and it was like it was too busy,
Mhm.
just like people were already glutted out, and I barely made table fees, so it just
Location sometimes is really key in a big place. Like if you're
yeah,
in the wrong spot, like
yeah.
they're not maybe getting to you, or like by the time they get to you, they're burned out, they're overwhelmed.
I found like the big
So,
spots are more aggressive about charging for like they'll charge you extra for internet and they'll charge you extra for electricity
mhm,
and they'll charge you extra for if you want to drape for your table and like they can nickel and dime your fees until you end up paying 500 or $1,000 for your table. And at that point, like that's a steep climb in book sales to make up for that. And I find that the
mhm,
the smaller local shows, they tend to be less
mhm,
aggressive in their tabling fees. And a lot of times people are just excited to have you there in a way that at the big shows, they kind of take you for granted. And I guess I would say, even if you had a traditional publisher at this point in the state of the industry, you would be having to do all of these same things because traditional publishers, they
mhm.
don't promote for you. They don't, I mean, mine barely did a press release. And then it was kind of up to me to do all of the rest of it, to the point where I was ordering boxes of my own books from them to take them to shows and things, just because they don't they don't help you out, unless you're one of the fraction of 1% who are a bestseller, they don't have time for you. So and yeah, actually, bookstores were always awesome in my experience. The only place that was mean was ironically a comic book store because they didn't think women should be making comics. So they chased me
Wow.
out of there.
That's
Wow. That's
wrong.
like back in the 1950s or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah,
like, well, I don't want to be here either.
yeah.
You told me everything I need to know.
Yeah, yeah. Children's books, I think, is a lot of friendlier industry in general, less
Yes.
exclusionary.
So it does still skew to the male, like even with like author visits.
Yeah,
It does still skew for guys, and they tend to get paid more, but that's also because they tend to ask for more. So,
yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, that's that's kind of our problem is we're like, oh, we'll just do it for free,
Whatever
or
you
like bring
need.
no cost.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just too
pay to be a
helpful. So,
people pleaser.
hmm so that's why I tried my best to like really in our groups groups, we really try to make sure that people are offering fair rates, but then
Mhm.
also people like either to pay or to be paid. So too often someone's coming up going, I'll pay $20 for a full illustration. And we're like, no, like
That's
I
not
don't
gonna.
know what, no matter what country you're in, that's still like not enough, like it's
Yeah,
not enough for any country. So, because there's other expenses you have to think about. So, um, you were mentioning earlier, Jackie, you were concerned about like how much cost you're putting into it versus, am I going to make that back? It is true that a lot of self-published books, especially children's books, do not make a profit. They don't turn a profit, especially because someone will do one book and then it doesn't do as well as they're hoping, and then that's it. They don't move forward. So what I've heard is a lot of times you're usually at book 3 by the time things start to really pick up, because what happens is not only are you getting better, right? So you're producing better books, but then by the time you release book 3 and they go, oh, I love that book. And then you have 2 other ones, they go, okay, I'll buy them too. So then now it kind of starts snowballing, because
yeah,
now that they're interested in one book, but you also seem more legit. You have all these, you have a selection of books rather than just one. So I even noticed that with illustrating. So I was putting myself out there and I was getting good, feedback in terms of people like interested, but then, I had reasonable rates, but they were just like, no, too expensive. That's fine. I don't want to work with someone that doesn't value me because I'm already at a low rate. And so, but once I published my 3rd book, suddenly I'm just like overwhelmed with people who want to work with me and will pay it. So it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of, things snowball once you get more and more. So that's kind of the challenge too, is to try to fund 3 books before things take off and put that time and effort in and keep going when you're not feeling like it's getting anywhere. There's a lot of perseverance that's in this industry. So you have to have that perseverance to push past and keep going, because you really believe in your books and you really believe in what you're doing and the impact it's making, and that's going to get you past all of that. So having a good support system is really good for that network. So that way you can continue to be encouraged. So that's some advice I'd give as you're starting out, because I wish more people gave me that advice, just because, you know,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 3 years, and it's like, you know, I've had a little bit of people here and there, but like nothing consistent enough. And so that's what Melissa and I try to do in our groups, is just to really encourage people and lift them up and create an environment where people are doing that. So that's so important.
That's such a good point. Yeah. When I do tables, I had noticed over time that my average transaction became more valuable as people would come to my table and not just buy my first book, but buy my first, second, third book, you know? And so I would go from an average $20 sale to an average $60 sale, which is a huge difference to make. And it's hard to see how you're going to get there when you're just on your first book and you're looking at those $20 sales. And it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make up this cost. But eventually, I mean, it does accumulate over time, and eventually it does get substantially easier to make those sales.
Especially if you add in things like, if you want to do author visits, or if you do, you know, other types of means of monetizing your book. There's lots of things you can do. Like, it depends on your skill set, what you're interested in. But you know, there's definitely other things that you can do to monetize you know, the children's book. So whether it's, you know, you're the illustrator, so maybe you're creating different merch off of it. You can do print on demand merch. You can also do small amounts that you get printed. You can do different classes. You can do coaching or consulting. There's the visits, different venues, schools, different places like that, and of course selling local markets. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of avenues to make it work. It just can feel like a lot.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah, it
of
does.
time and effort, learning, you know, building up. You know, you don't always have the funds right away, so you have to get creative and crafty to
Mhm.
make it all work. And sometimes you're like, I'm just gonna have to hold off on that until I can make it work, or things like that. So
I would say the number
yeah.
one thing that would guarantee drive traffic to my tables at the conventions was when I started having a stuffed animal on my table, because my personal passion project was about flying cats. So I got a stuffed animal flying cat made, and children especially, because obviously you're trying to attract a child market, and they would see it and just come hurrying over and want to play with it and pet it. And like, I didn't have the budget to have an entire run done so that I could sell them, but just having the prop there was enough to bring people to my table, and then I could pitch them on the book. So something simple like that, something child
Yeah, that's great.
friendly, yeah, it can really make a huge difference.
And you can also turn that and say, hey, you know, do you want to get on the pre-order list? So that way, you know, almost like a Kickstarter or anything like that.
That's
So
a good
you just
idea.
get
I
like an
should do that
email
next
list.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we talk, you know, because then you get
Yeah.
ideas. So you would just basically, like, they could just sign up, and then they would just get notified once it becomes available, or get notified to get pre-order. So, you know, if you hit the pre-order amount, you know,
Yeah,
everybody, you know,
that's
enough
paying
people
for a
sign up,
batch.
then you can go ahead and can go ahead and do it. So, yeah, there's lots of options that you can do to, like, if you don't, and another thing is, if you go there and you don't have enough books, maybe you run out, you can have a QR code and say, you know, go ahead and order your book and get mailed directly to you. You know, so that way you never get in the position where either you're ordering too many books and now you're like too much hanging around, it's a lot to carry around, or you order what you think you might need and then you have the QR code. So if you do end up needing more, you know, at least you have something for them to do. There's just like lots of different ideas that I've gathered from like the different groups and talking to people, researching things like that. And so that's why
Honestly, that's
networking
probably a
and
good topic for
having a community is so important.
like that would
What's that?
probably be a good topic for a meeting at some point, is just like successful tabling and showing.
Yeah, definitely. And I have experience with my art craft type shows, but I haven't done any for Trim's book. It sounds like you have, and then maybe we can try to find some other people that that are more specifically maybe even have pictures and things of the actual their actual setups and things like that to share along with their tips. So we'll have to maybe have a post calling out like, hey, anybody want to share their images of their tables, and and if you're interested, like, let us know, contact us, and then you can share information at the next one of the next groups.
Yeah.
Next hangout. Cool. All right, Jackie, thank you so much for coming. It's a little after 3. I appreciate you sticking with us and
Thank you guys so
participating in
much.
stuff. I know it's not always so easy when we're all introverts, probably.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for taking
Yeah.
your time to answer questions, and I really appreciate your advice and also your
Aw.
wisdom. Like it really means a lot, and like I'll definitely keep that in mind. Like you said that like if a person doesn't see progress at first, not to get discouraged, and you said that like around book 3 it helped for you guys, and that's really good. Like for you,
Yeah, and
Amanda.
that's what I heard on the author side too. It's not just on the illustrator side, though. I did see that. I heard that's on the author side. So you're the author illustrator, so hopefully it'll be doubly good for you, because you're getting both ends of it. But yeah, so yeah, once you do that, and you have to be, of course, marketing and getting stuff out there. You can, if you just put it out there and just leave it, it's like no one's gonna see it, because there's just too much going on the internet. So you have to market, you have to make posts in different groups and be active and not just promote, right? It's important to also be connecting with people and trying to help them and give back as well, not just take, because then people are going to see you as a legit person, and they're going to they're going to trust you more, and you're going to build that up, and so that way then people will be like, I really want to support them, like they're a really cool person, and I want to help them out. And so the more that you do things like that, then the more it builds up your community around you. And so it's really important to be involved. And I know it's hard. It's like more time, that you don't have, but doing what you can when you can, I think is important, just to spend like a little bit of time each week connecting with others, because that over time, that'll make a difference. So definitely keep connecting and coming to these monthly hangouts when you can, and connecting in the groups that you're in. I'll send an email with some resources of what we talked about, like some links and stuff, just in case you missed what it was. And there'll be a recording though as well, so which I'll send out a link to once that's ready, that everyone can view. And so that way, if you want to go back and listen to something, or that sort of stuff. I know there's people that register, because we have like 24 people register, so obviously not everybody can make it, so then they get the recording. So that way, in case you miss it, because I know it's hard to step away, things pop up, so that's where we're going to do the recording to make sure that people still see it, and then we'll build up a library of that, which is going to be cool. Hopefully I was thinking about hosting it on my website, just have a whole section that's like not necessarily linked, but like if you have the link, you have the link kind of thing, private link, and just have all the videos from all the hangouts. Do you think that would be cool, Melissa, to do that?
Yeah.
I'll try to see if I can manage that with my Squarespace website. I'm not sure. I feel like they have stuff for that, but I haven't played with it, so I'll just have to see.
Probably safer that way too, to have control to access and know that it's being safely stored.
Yeah, because I think at any time I could probably go in and change the web address, just even a little bit, and then it would break the link. So if we have any issues, I could always do that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I'll try to work on something like that. So it might be a few days before
fair.
I can get the.
You've only got a few things going on.
Out then. Yeah, so I'll have to see about that. Plus, I am my day job of illustrating too. So.
And kids.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks,
Jackie.
Thanks,
It was
Melissa.
good seeing you all again. Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, Melissa, of all the talking you've done. I know it's not your favorite.
Thank you.
So
yes, I
this was a real win for her, seriously.
Yeah.
I hope there's only 2 people extra here, but still.
Yeah, as long as they stay small, it'll be good. Of course, I don't think they will, but
yeah, well, they get really big. We'll need someone to manage the chat and questions anyway. So
That's true. Yeah. Maybe I'll.
You could
maybe
be
I'll
in the
finish this
background
book.
helping with that part.
Yeah.
You still have to talk a little bit though.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
guys.
right. You guys have a great
Thank you.
day.
You too.
Talk
You
to you later.
too.
Bye.
Bye.